what to say. I've been hoping to get Chris along for
I don't know
several years.
I'm saying, I don't know. I'm really pleased to be here. It's really exciting. I mean, there's lots of people here. It's great.
Yeah.
That's quite political as well.
Yeah.
I like politics. It's good. And oh hello, it's Bonnie. Hello.
Hello.
And yeah, so no, it's great. So I'm really thrilled to be here. So yeah.
I don't really need to do an introduction. I'll give you a very, very short introduction. One of the reasons I was delighted to get Chris along is Chris, if I may say, enjoys an enviable career, moving from comedy to live-action comedy, animation, live-action drama, and I felt for a long time that filmmaking is about what you have to say rather than the means that you use to say it. And I find that often animation, if you're an animator, you're expected always to make animated films, and I don't really see why that needs to be the case. So it's very nice that you not just break the mould, you kind of explode it into thousands of pieces. So
I think some people, some animators, I remember meeting working with somebody once who said they knew that they wanted to animate when they were in the room. You know, and I thought, this is really weird, because I'm not like that at all. Do you know what I mean? And the only reason why I made animated films was because I didn't know any actors, I didn't have a camera, and I didn't have anything. And I thought, I'll make some plasticine models. And I just made some models, and that's how I started. So it's more like, because I played in a band, everybody in Liverpool either played in a band or tried to do football. And as I'm a total coward, and I grew up on Anfield Road and saw all the football violence, I was absolutely terrified of the football. So I sort of, then I tried to play in a band, which I was alright at, but everybody was there, everybody was doing it, and then I thought, well, then I really wants to make a film, really. So that's what, you know, I used to, and once again, because I lived near the football ground, my mother was worried that I would get beaten to death when I walked out of the house. So I used to sort of watch a lot of old, we used to watch a lot of weird TV, like The Prisoner, or Playboys Today, or Dennis Potter, and I'd sit and watch all this stuff. And I've told this story many times. I remember going to school and you know, I had bags under my eyes, and my teacher said to me, she says, "Oh, Shepherd, come here, I want to talk to you." She says, "You've got bags under your eyes. Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. You know, I'm fine. You know." She says, "You know, you've got terrible bags under your eyes. Is anything happening? You know, are you doing drugs?" It's like, no. And then my only drug was TV. Do you know what I mean? That was the thing. I mean, I just used to watch it, and I'd watch any old crap. I'd watch like stuff like How We Used to Live in the afternoon. I used to like, I hated games as well, so I'd run home. I'd run home to the house. I mean, Mum was so pleased to see me, and we sit and watch. Remember that show, How We Used to Live? People dressed as Victorians.
I remember the good old days. I don't remember.
Oh God, yeah, the Artificialanius, the good old days. Oh yeah, that's terrifying, isn't it, the good old days? And who remembers that? Yeah, that was scary.
You're probably on it.
I did actually have some footage on how we used to live. But it was a bit later, I think 1996.
Okay. It was funny. No, so I used to love it. I used to love TV. I used to sit and watch a lot of it, and just, you know, be quite an encyclopedic somehow, you know. So yeah, but what I did was, then I wanted to tell stories, but I had no outlet, you know. So and it was different then, wasn't it? Because, you know, in school, you know, nobody would encourage you. So it'd be like, I remember, like, I got 98% in art, and I got 22% in French. They said, "You've got to do French, there's no jobs in art." And then the careers teacher came in and said, she's almost saying, "Oh, you poor gobshite. You've had I could get you a job in a chicken factory, skinning chickens," and you know what I mean? It's like, oh. So it was a ridiculous time, wasn't it? The 80s, but yeah, so there we go. But I've got a film here to show you. The first one I'm going to show you is actually the first film I ever made, which I did get the plasticine models, and all I knew about it was that there was this. I bought. Does anybody remember XTC, the band?
Yeah.
So the B-side of Life Begins at a Hop. It was on clear vinyl. It looked like a record player. The single, it was really great. And the B-side was Homo Safari, and I just heard this drum beat. It was just like bum 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 ch, bum 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 bum. I just thought, wouldn't it be great if these guys' eyes popped on the beat, you know? And I suddenly started to make a film, and then my friends came to the house, and they were saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing, Chris?" I said, "I'm making a film." They go, I've got a film. Like, yeah, I've gone like, look, and then they were like, he's fucking a psycho, he's gone mad. They all thought I was a psycho, because nobody did that sort of thing then. And then I borrowed a Super 8 camera, and I made this film. It was sort of, it was good fun, you know. And I remember my mum was really sick as well, and because when I left home in, she had cancer, and I left home to go into our college, and 3 weeks before she died. And I always remember that she hadn't got out of bed for ages, and when she saw the film, I found out that I'd got into our college in Farnham. Remember, she jumped out of bed and gave me a hug. And so out of all the films, I grew up, my grandmother brought me up, but the Safari's the only film she ever saw, which is probably just as well, because the other ones, I would have been in a bad books, do you know what I mean? Because they're full of effing and blinding and psychopathic characters, and, do you know what I mean? So, what do you reckon, should we watch it? Yeah!
Give me a minute just to sort the lights out.
I wouldn't like to analyse that, would you? What's the questions? I'm scared now.
Well, you said your first film and you made it at home.
No, I remember that I got a job. I suppose I wasn't a scally. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't a scally, but I was still rebelling against things. I remember like I was in I'm getting filmed here. Should I confess this? Anyway, I was in the foundation department. I didn't fit in. I did some misdemeanors. Minor ones, I suppose. And I remember that I did a big painting called a chicken curry. I remember the man vomiting on the bus. And the guy who used to teach me used to restore paintings, and he was determined after that point to sort of get rid of me. And then I was like I was literally on the failure zone, because it was just. And I suppose in a way that we were being quite worthy and stuff, and I couldn't quite handle it. I didn't have the intellect to deal with it. And I met this guy called Dave Clapham. You know Dave Clapham, don't you? Because me and John used to work together in Speedy Films and Bermuda Shorts, and Bonnie, we did a film together called The World of Interiors, which was nominated for a BAFTA, which is brilliant. You should check it out.
We've shown it here.
So I've lost the plot now. I'm like,
Dave Clapham.
oh yeah, and I met Dave, and Dave was brilliant because he was quite unorthodox, Dave Clapham, and he said, oh, why don't you make a film? And I remember that amazing. I did a little experiment, and then when they saw it in the college, then they got like a grade B then. But then nobody knew what to do with me because there was no animation courses. You had to do
this on Foundation?
In Foundation. This is Liverpool Poly. So then what happened was, after that was, I sort of went to work in the Department of Health and Social Security, and that was like terrifying. I used to work behind the counter, you know, and all the claimants would come in and they smash the place up, and they literally do a poo in the waiting room and stuff like this. And then I remember that one day I was sitting there, and one of my colleagues, the police come in, got him and put him on the table, and then took crowbars and just opened up and just got all the papers. He was doing fraud. So it was always like mad. They never knew what was going to happen there. So I worked there, and I thought my life had ended at this point. I used to go to nightclubs in Liverpool, and I used to cry, just crying. Just weep. I'd have like 6 bottles of Carlsberg 68, and then I'd be off my cake, just crying. Because I thought my life had ended, it was just total despair. And then I met Dave in the street, and Dave said, oh, what are you doing working in the social? You should be making films. And he said, why don't you get yourself made redundant? Which was good, because you work in the social, everybody knows the rules. So I got myself made redundant. and then I sort of worked for him then. Well, he didn't pay me. I should say that on the camera, obviously. And it was like, so I would sort of, I would be there, and I'd answer the phone, but then I made that film Safari, and I did 12 minutes of footage.
What was he doing? What was he doing?
Well, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, he was doing all his films and things he was doing in editing, and then I sort of did this film. I shot 12 minutes of footage and then cut it down to 2. So I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea at all.
But Chris, that's not the case if you watch it. I mean, for a start, the sync is with the eyeballs is absolutely bang on. With Super 8, how did you do the sync without actually having very carefully timed it?
We had this box in the studio that was like a prism, and then people would come in, like artists, and other people, and we would tele-cine the films on this little box. So I just did it like that. I just stuck it in, and then I put it onto U-matic, and edited it on a U-matic, off, you know, just did it that way.
Right.
So I had this 12 minutes of footage, and I did lots of other things. I remember editing Deaf Schools, and we did stuff with the farm and stuff like that. It was about that period in Liverpool music. And not Deaf School had come back together because they're from the 70s. But yeah, so that was it, yeah. But
What sort of lighting did you use?
God, I can't remember now. I it was just big ones, you know. I can't remember much about it. It's a long time ago now. It's 1989. I remember that it was quite a big space in Victoria Street by the Mersey Tunnel. It was a great studio, and it was amazing. And I think I spent about 6 months on it.
And how did Dave Clapham?
Yeah.
How did he know about your work?
But no, I was in foundation, and he did a module or whatever, where he taught filmmaking.
Oh, I see.
And I remember, and that's how I met him. Yeah.
So you got headhunted by one of your tutors, which is,
I suppose so.
pretty
Yeah.
good.
But he was like one of the visiting ones from another. You know what I mean? He was like he just did like a couple of weeks on the foundation course. He wasn't part of the foundation course. He really did the live action filmmaking in the Hanneman building. Yeah, it was funny. It's funny talking about this. I've not thought about this for years. And yeah, so beyond that, yeah, I don't know. Is anybody else got any questions about Safari? No, that's it.
What were the influences?
Yeah, well, I went to I found my sketchbook the other year, and I went to the Liverpool Museum, and it was really cool, the Liverpool Museum, the way it was. On the ground floor, I had loads of big models of ships that were amazing, and then I had like a big rocket in the middle, do you remember? And then I had a moon display. My brother told me that he stole some moon rock from the display and gave it to me. He said, "This is real moon rock." And it was funny because it wasn't until only recently I started to look and said, "Well, the amount of moon rock that came back from the NASA mission is like microscopic. It's all like little tiny like." But he totally was having me on, you know. And there was a Victorian street there as well. Do you remember the Victorian street? It was like painted, like high contrast, black and white photo. You could walk down it. God, as a kid, I was so obsessed by that. And then, but in the African display, there was some African sculptures, and I sort of, just, you know, I used those as a basis for the characters. So I sketched them, and then I made them into that. Yeah, so I just researched that. And I was very methodical about it when I made that. It was quite anal and a bit potty. And,
isn't that being an animator?
Yeah, I
Being
suppose
anal
so.
and a bit
Yeah,
potty?
it is, isn't it? Yeah. And it was, yeah, it's a funny, well, I'm proud of it, you know, with that film, because it's just, it's a good party film, isn't it? Despite his psychological undercurrents, whatever they are, I can't analyse those. So
It's just like real life, really.
it is. Really, I really wanted the last guy to eat himself,
Ah,
but I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So we just had to disappear, you know. Now we did the CGI and everything. It'd be like, wouldn't it? It'd be like, whoa. But no, then that was the best. That was the best I could do. Just have him disappear. But, so then when I did that film, then I got into Farnham in Surrey and studied animation there, which was quite a hippie place. Is anybody got to go to Farnham? Yeah. Did you do a tour of duty in Nam? Yeah. It was really hippie. For me, it was like, I grew up in Liverpool. It was like, you know, so Labour. My brother was in the militant Labour Party Young Socialists. Our phone was tapped by MI5 and all this. And he may laugh, but I remember seeing a road and action documentary where my brother used to take me to this hall and for the militant, and it'd be like really boring. I hated it, you know. Really dull, you know. They go, well, I've got to help our friends in Guatemala. Friends in Guatemala with the getting missiles for the friends in Guatemala. They'd be talking about this stuff like this. I didn't even know what they talking about. I think, I want to see music films. But then they do endless beer rounds. They'd be going like, what's yours? What are you having? 5 Ixons, a bar mix. You have a bitter for Sheila. Hey, Mo wants a Mackey's. And they go on like this all night. And then I watched this World in Action documentary, and they were like putting these microphones into this is where you came here. MI5 put the microphones in the building like this, boom, 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 and then it was like all places wired for sound, and then the camera pulls out, and it was that hall. So Margaret Thatcher knew the beer rounds of everybody in Liverpool, like combination. If only she sold bitters, she could have cleared up because she wanted a good market demographic. But she didn't, did she? She wanted to trust the workers and all that. So our phone was actually tapped. It must have been because it used to click, and Jake goes, it's tapped, anyway. But I've digressed a bit, haven't I?
It's great. Carry on.
Well, let's see. So I don't know why I've gone on. I don't know. Have a drink of bitter and I'll come back. Let's see. Higson's.
I gather Emma Calder taught you or advised you at
Farnham, yeah. That's fine. Oh yeah, I was talking about how in Liverpool it was totally socialist, mate. You know what I mean? And then Farnham was like totally Tory, and there was no Labour people at all, and I was ultimately freaked out by this. I saw Virginia Bottomley in the street and said, hey, excuse me, hello, I'd like to talk to you, blah, blah. And she just looks, here's my accent, and just goes like that. You know what I mean? And just turns her back on me, you know what I mean? And it was that sort of place. It was funny, Farnham. But it was quite good in a way, because it was just a culture. I might have been sent to Mars, or something, you know what I mean? It's like 2001: A Space Odyssey, going through a sort of the weird barrier and ended up in Farnham, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting there like with cultural shock, sitting at the table going like, oh. And so it was funny for me. It was like a lot of hippies there and stuff. I remember it was very a strong music culture in Liverpool, and I used to go dancing every night, every Saturday or something. Then I never danced once when I was there because it was just people, hippies and stuff. I don't know, it was quite fun. So I used to make my own entertainment, so I think that was good for me going to Farnham, because then we just do stuff like trying to slow down the what do you call it, the flagpole in front of the police station, that sort of thing. But then, with being students, we couldn't coordinate the attack because one person would be over there and over here, and then it would go on all night, and in the end, nothing would be achieved, and we'd all go home. And so I was sort of like Farnham in a way. And I made a film about I never show it anymore. I never show the film. I made a film about my mother, and which is my mother got cancer through making golf balls in Dunlops, and there was an oxidising agent in the balls. And anyway, so I made a black John see there, and it's a funny film because it's like sort of it's quite dark humour again, And I never look at it though because it's a bit, I don't know. But
a load of balls.
A load of balls, yeah. It's got a very carry-on title, but so I did that, and then I went to London, and then I worked in a place called Speedy Films. Does anybody remember them? They did. It was run by Paul Vester's company, and they did stuff like the Vitalite commercials and Toshiba and the 2 cars racing Milky Way, and they did a great film called Abductees.
Yeah.
And I was like the production manager on that, and that was
I've
really
actually
great.
got that on tape. Philip actually gave me a copy of it on VHS earlier this evening by strange synchronicity.
It's on Vimeo. There's a good copy of it on Vimeo. So that was great because that was great working there because I got to meet loads of people, And
it's on the back.
Oh, it's on that one, yeah. So that was quite. John, you worked on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked on it for about 8 years.
Yeah.
Martin, get an autograph.
Oh, yeah. But did you work?
Yeah, so I did that, and then I sort of made a film called The Broken Jaw. And I did it with the Momi Scheme, and later on I became the producer for the Momi Scheme. So sometimes I'll be a producer as well and do, like develop ideas and stuff. So But I.
Do you mind if I just ask something? So, the Broken Jaw is all hand drawn and painted a 2D animation on cell. That's quite a move from claymation and so on. Are you? Can you just say a little bit about the techniques you were using?
Well, it was just once again. I mean, for me, my primary thing's a story. And I love a story, and what I did was I wrote the film about my mum, and I remember that I had lots and lots and lots and lots of different scenes. You know, it was in the factory, then it was outside, and then somewhere else, and somewhere else, and somewhere. And I would have had to make like 12 sets, so I then I started drawing, but I was really rubbish at drawing. I mean, I was, you know, pretty poor drawing. And nobody would give me a job. When I graduated from Farnham, they were all saying it was very Disney-esque then. And people would tell you, you can tell a story, but you can't draw, get lost. Fuck off, that thing. And they wouldn't even tell you to fuck off, but they just see you later. And I did that, and but then my drawing got a bit better because I did the Broken Jaw. It's just a bit longer drawing, and I think I drew that on paper and photocopied that onto cell, and it's all shot on 35mm. It's about the story's about it's sort of about a bunch of old people who drink in a pub. And the pub was made over into like a fun pub, because it was very popular in Liverpool in the 80s, where they got suddenly your favourite pub called my fun pub, mate, and they'd be all like a bit weird with fluorescent lights and I don't know, and karaoke and stuff. And the film's sort of about change, really. And it was funny. I suppose I made the film because I was upset about my mother, and I suppose I was having difficulty dealing with change. But I remember that by the end of it. Well, I remember my girlfriend dumped me halfway through the film because I had the line tester in the bedroom, you know. It was too much for her. It was too much for me. And anyway, I remember I used to go to sleep and shut my eyes and see the images, you know. And then I was in total trauma. Then I stopped doing the film for 3 months, and then I sort of then I picked up. There's a scene where the old guy's getting thrown into the gutter. And I started on that scene again and then finished the film off. But by the time I finished the film off, I had a new girlfriend. And she was much better than the last one. And so it was one of those ones where change is good, you know? I mean, by the time I started being all miserable at the start, I went, oh, change is bad. But by the end, I thought, oh, bloody hell, change is good, this change is great. So it was sort of quite cathartic, really. I think that sometimes in my films, I try to... you know, like, sometimes if you get a feeling off a story, I remember that somebody said to me once, you know, I think it might have been Akira Kurosawa said that every time you read a book, if you feel like you're moved by it, you should bend the page or make a note of it, it makes you laugh, make a note of it. He says if you could get like 7 or 8 of those things, you could probably make a feature film out of it or a bigger story. And I think I'm always quite interested in that sense of like when something moves you, do you know what I mean, and trying to focus on that, because that's something, because there's a chance you might transmit that to the audience, do you know what I mean? And but yeah, so once I did the Broken Jaw, then I did a series called Big Train. We were watching it before, not seen it for years, and Graham Linehan and Arthur Matthews saw the Broken Jaw, and they really loved it. And then, how many people seen Big Train? There's a few of you, yeah. So. But the idea came about by, it was a civilian worker in a police station called Paul Hatcher, and he used to photocopy scene of the crime documents and stuff like this. And he graduated actually up to being a scene of the crime photographer, which he loved. And I've not seen him for years. He's a good lad, but he used to make these comics, and then he sold some in Gosh, and then Graham Linehan saw them, and then, oh my god, I love it, and then I want this to be a sketch show. And then when they started Big Train, that was really the first thing that they wanted it to be in the show. They really I remember he was saying he wants to call it the World Stairhouse Championship originally when they first started, and then so it was real fun, it was a real great thing to do, and that was, I loved that, I just love comedy. I think it's because I love Monty Python and stuff, you know.
Well, you had a foot in Safari, didn't you?
Yeah, I suppose I do like a bit. I used to watch a lot of Python. I've not really thought about this until recently, but we all did watch Python, didn't we? So, should we have a look at the final? This is the final between Campagnola and Sigmund Spassky.
This is a real treat for me. I was showing some Big Train earlier on, but the animated sketches are very far apart, so this is a wonderful distillation.
It was quite weird as when we shot it, there'd be like stuff whereby, you know, there's one episode where nothing happens in it, and like nothing visually happens in it. I remember going with the audience to record the audience, and sat there, and it was like, I started to believe in it, you know. I was like, oh, something's going to happen, something's going to happen. But I didn't, but it wasn't going to. But I was really getting swept. Well, like, it was like real sports. It was really boring. I mean, it was really great.
I read somewhere that the voiceover is partly improvised, as though they're watching it for the first time. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, when we did the pilot, it had Jeffrey Whitehead and Phil Cornwall did the voice, and it was more like cricket commentary. But then when we did the show, because we did the final in the pilot. And the pilot was directed by Chris Morris, so it was like sort of it was different. And then Chris went on and did other things, you know. And but when we came back to it, then it was Arthur Matthews who said, oh, you know, he loves football, Arthur. So Arthur said, why don't let's go football instead of it being cricket. And it's great. So then we asked Barry Davies. And Barry Davies turned up, and that was magic, because he was like, you know, he had the blazer on and the monocle. He's total gentleman, you know. Hello, Barry Davies. You know, just really like just amazing. You just so
his voice is so evocative.
Yeah. So we all come up. We all came up with ideas what could happen and things. There's some bits and bobs we all chipped in and things. But the dialogue, Arthur wrote all of the dialogue, all the commentary, and but there was a few moments that with the streaker and things where we sort of showed them, we said, you're going to see something now, react to it. And what was really interesting was, you know, you think about a commentator, you know, I don't know why I was a bit daft in a way, it was just the way they're such good actors, you know, because they were coming out with really funny stuff, you know. You know, just the naked man and saying stuff. Oh yeah, so I think I saw him with your wife last week. Coming out with all this stuff, and it was real magic. It was really funny. But I think mainly it's the script. I mean, but it's that thing of just they were so good at ad-libbing, Barry Davies. But I suppose he's going to see everything, isn't he? When he's commenting, he's going to see Suarez banging somebody's head off. You've got to get ready with some comment, haven't you? But should we have a look?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like an hour long, like a massive one that went on and on and on and on, which is a great idea, wasn't it? And I love that, and I suppose just hearing you all laughter, you know, it's so you know, it's such a great thing for me. It always is. You know what I mean? Because it's at the time I remember that, you know, just sitting with people as they all watch it and they all laugh. I mean, that's magic, and hearing people laugh, I love it. It's just because I love comedy for that. You know, I love that immediacy of things when you just people laugh. You know what I mean? It's good, and yeah. So there we go. So that was that was 1997 when the series came out, and then I did a whole load of stuff, didn't I? From then on, I sort of, you know, people started to know me more as a director as well, and I started to sort of do more scripts and more stuff. But we're going to jump ahead, aren't we, to this, because we've got another disc. We're going to show something recent next, aren't we?
Okay. Well, if you're happy to jump.
No, jump is a link between. So we're going to show this. I shot these things which are comedy blaps, which are with Channel 4 initiative. And I shot some of these last year, and because when I was a kid I used to love watching Monty Python and love comedy. And it was funny because normally with being a writer-director, you know, people want you to write and direct, and you never get a chance to do other people's stuff because it's just people go, oh no, you know, he's a writer-director, oh, because they sit on toadstools and be weird, or they'll come in and say, I want everything, I want it all the lights on, the lot, everything, the lot, and then it's like, oh no, am I going to go over budget or something like that? Oh, I want to spend 10 years on this moment. Do you know what I mean? They're scared, but really, you know, whenever you shoot a film, because I've gone more, as time's gone on, I've gone more and more live action at times, because I grew up watching Dennis Potter, you know what I mean? and I love telling stories. So I'm not wedded to animation necessarily, but we. So it's like this.
That'd be heresy for some people.
Yeah, it's funny. God, that's weird, isn't it? Right? I'm getting the giggles now. And I feel like really subversive now. Anyway, so so we've gone more that way. But this I shot this last year. This has. Can we jump on to episode 2? Can you do that?
Yeah.
I think it should be.
Well, I'll try.
Now I have to explain the context of this. This stars it's got Josie Long in it and Izzy Sutty and lots of people, and it's set in a night. We don't know which episode. They all have the same titles. It's with a pen. You don't know until it gets further. Anyway, but so they do a night in the Soho Theatre called the Alternative Comedy Memorial Society. It's every Monday. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's all about it being like about comedy that could fail. So when you go off, and then so at the end of the act, people come on and they can be as awful or as whatever, like the Gong Show, or can be inspired, whatever. Then the audience go, they say failure, and they go noble failure. So they have because it's just everything's a noble failure, and including this as well, because the guys are brilliant because they just have this they have a board members of their society. And basically all the board members are in this show, and it's set in a building that's on fire, and but they're all talking so much shit. They don't do anything to resolve it. They just sort of just go on about I don't know. You'll see all kinds of crazy stuff, don't they? So you should just watch one. And,
how did you get involved with this?
There's a great producer called Adrian Sturgis, and Adrian produced. Disappearance of Alice Creed, with Eddie Malzahn, our feature film. He did another feature film called Albatross, and he'd always, because he tried to get me to do the animation on Nowhere Boy, the Sam Taylor Wood film, but I sort of talked her out of having any animation in the script. I said, the drama's really good. See, this is how, you talk about this is where the failure of not being the animation purist is. Because I made it start, no, the script's really good the way it is, the drama's in the right spot. And then slowly she just cut all the animation out. So then I supposed to talk myself completely out of the job. So this is why I should be an animation purist. This is because I'm shooting myself in the foot. But anyway, Adrian had just wanted to do something with me, and then he just give me a shout, and then I don't know, it'd be fun. I'd see what you make.
And why aren't these on TV?
Well, Comedy Blaps, they do like full episodes of things, and they put them online. So they're almost like pilots. But yeah, I don't know. Good question. We want them on TV. We want them. Come on, petition to somebody. Who can we about a petition to? It's hard, isn't it? We'll have to call a board meeting about it. Should we go for it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
But yeah, there's 4 episodes of that. It's quite surreal, but I love it. I think it's really. But I mean, that takes me back to a bit like Python or something. And also, when you shoot live action, and you end up with this thing of different sorts of realities, where you have one film, you shoot something that'll be really real. And other things are more surreal. It's about the universe you're in a way, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like one universe can be completely surreal, and another one can be, totally realistic, like Ken Loach movie or something. So, we jumped ahead there, didn't we? But yeah. So I've always ended up doing bits of comedy, and I always quite like doing a bit of comedy. But we going back to where we were, I did one film which is called. Who I Am and What I Want. Maybe we should watch that now. Should we just go for the film?
Yeah, okay.
And this is a collaboration I did with David Shrigley, which was in 2005. And I wanted to do a film with David, because when I did Big Train, I bought this book called Why We Got the Sack from the Museum, and I was really, really into it. And because my wife worked in the museum, and then and she's always liked to get the sack, so it doesn't make sense to me. And not that she does anything bad, obviously, just because of funding and stuff like that. And should we just go for it? Let's go for it.
I was going to.
it was, I met him and then we said, oh, we should do a film together. And we spent like 5 years trying to think of an idea. Because the difficult thing with Dave's stuff is when you get like his books, each page is a different story, you know? So everything is a different story, little man here, little man there, you know, he's doing different things. But with this book, you know, Who I Am and What I Want, it was about one man called Pete. And it just suited being a longer narrative. And I put all the stuff in with the forest, which wasn't in the book. And the book was miles long. I remember I filmed every page and it went on for like 10 years. And it would have burnt your brain out, but it was good. But Kevin Eldon from Big Train is doing the voice on this film. He was fantastic, Kevin. He was, have we seen him? We're watching the one with the cat and the mouse. Some of us saw before. He's the cat and he's the mouse, isn't he?
Yeah, and the devil.
And the devil, yeah. So should we watch him?
Yep, absolutely.
Let's go. Yeah, I've not watched that one for a while. It's funny, isn't it? I like we were saying about he got shown in the zoo one time in Belgium. I mean, God knows what they were like. They were doing that anyway, but. I don't know what animals watched it anyway, but it was an 18 certificate as well, which we were really proud of, you know, because Dave was very proud of that because, you know, a black and white cartoon that's an 18 certificate is quite hardcore, isn't it? And but I did really well. And I went to a succession in this period. I did Dad's Dead, and then I did Who I Am What I Want, another film called Silence is Golden, which was an animation live action mix, and I was really super popular then. I remember it was
It's super popular now.
Yeah. Well, I remember I had all these people phoning me up saying that we want to do a film with you. You know, like people from America going, we want to do a film with you. You know, and for like, yeah. And then I meet the guy. I remember I met one guy and then he sat there and said, he's on the phone to me, do you want to make a movie? Do you want to make a movie? Do you want to? And I'm going like, yeah. And then it's like, you know, you turn up and then you see this guy, he's saying, I want to, you've got to trust me. And he's looking over there like, you've got to trust me. 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 Like, but he couldn't look me in the eye and I was just going like, this is all a bit weird. So I went through this weird period, then I started to write like bigger scripts. And I sort of always got devoured alive by that, because I think the feature thing is like the path of total madness, because once you start on it, it just fucks so many good crazy people, including me. I remember I stayed 3 years in the shed, 4 years, and I came out of the shed and I couldn't talk. And by the time I got slowly dumped over like 5-6 years, and I come out of the shed, I was like, I just couldn't talk anymore. And then I sort of come back to this thing then of like making. When I was in art school, Dave Clapham said to me, but when I was doing safari, he said, oh, you know, I don't know what to put in my folder for the college, you know, I don't know what to stick in. And he said, why don't you draw your living room? And I was like, what, Dave? Draw my living room? That's really boring. And he says, no, it's boring to you, but it's really interesting to somebody else. And he's right, isn't he? Because I'm like a voyeur. I like looking at those windows up there. Even as I'm talking now, I'm thinking, oh, what's going on over there, you know? And I don't want to wear a watch. I always think that if I don't wear a watch, I can legitimately look into some of these fucking movies and say, oh, I was looking for a clock, I'm sorry. You know, I might be late for a meeting or something. And so I've always been like that. And then so this rationale of like talking about what you know is quite interesting, because I did Dad's Dead in 2002, which was like about my landscape where I grew up. And Who I Am's, you know, more like Dave says it's all my fault, Dave Strictly. But anyway, but I don't think it is. He got interviews and said that was all Chris, everything. and then I did Silence is Golden, which was another exploration of like sort of old stories and stuff. And then, but after I came out of my weird period doing features, I did a film called Bad Night for the Blues, which was all like a totally live action film, which is about my Auntie Gladys. My Auntie Gladys, yeah, she took me to a conservative club and she got absolutely hammered, and she absolutely she made a total disgrace of herself. And in a 3-minute silence, you know, the minute silence for Fallen Comrade, she just said, just shouts like, "This is all load of fucking bollocks!" like this in the middle. And I remember just walking, I'd just been traumatised by this, but got in the toilet, I started laughing in the toilet, and I got my sketchbook and I wrote it all down. As soon as I got home that night, I wrote it all down, and then I did a film about that, you know. So what's happened in the last few films is I've followed that sort of process of having no barriers or shields, and then, which is crazy as a filmmaker because you just reveal everything about yourself. And so my last film I've done is called The Ringer, and I followed on and examined this thing. It's again about if something can touch you, you know, I think it could be something that is, you know, maybe it'll communicate to the audience, maybe people will get something from it. So I had this bizarre experience when I was a kid. Well, my mum and dad both ran off, and my grandmother brought me up, and and what happened was that my dad disappeared, and then he tried to get in touch with me when I was 16, and then I sort of didn't meet up with him because I knew it would break my grandmother's heart, you know. But then I left home, and then when I had a kid, then I suddenly thought, I've got to meet my dad, I've got to meet him, you know, because I thought I'll have a kid, I've got a kid, I've got to explain the family history. So then I ended up getting in touch with him, and then I met him, and it was really amazing. I was 38. I met my dad for the first time when I was 38, and the first thing he did was he pitched a feature film to me, you know, and then sort of like just basically stalked me with the idea with this feature film, and phoning me up all hours and all this. And so I thought it was such an amazing story. It's I thought I had to make it into a film, and so that's the last. Most recent film, like sort of more personal film I've done, and it stars John Henshaw, who's in like Early Doors, and he's in Heroic and stuff like that. And once again, it's that thing where I'm pushing doing the live action thing really, and with animation. Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
So I did this. This is from last year. This one. So, and. This one. What's this here then? Yeah, there we go. Whoa, hey. Yeah.
Well, I think we should have a bit of a break now for about 10 minutes, and then come back in a bit and maybe have a questions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that's great. No, yeah. I found it hard to watch that one, but yeah. But yeah, no, cool, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Chris Shepherd, ladies and gentlemen.
Basically, I did the film 2002 with Ian Hart did the voice, and the cast, everybody who did it back then. And my plan is, I've not shot it yet, but when I did Dad's Dead, I did it like a painting, so I didn't really. I did a voice record, then I built it up in layers, you know, and then sort of, you know, built it up over time, you know, so it's like quite organic in a way. And with this film I want to do the same, but what I want to do is to get the same actors back, and everybody's 12 years older, and the story's 12 years on, so that's what I want to do, so that's my plan. So and I have, of course, in the true current state of the filmmaking, but I have absolutely no money to do it. But in a way, it's a good thing because it doesn't mean I've got people saying. Otherwise, people say, "No, you can't do that. You can't say the word fuck or something." You know what I mean? That's out of order, isn't it? So let me just dig out. Sorry about this. I'll put it away, so I'm sort of. Yeah, we've done that. Done that. Oh God, that one. Oh Jesus. Oh, that's it. Yeah, this one. And that one. And then we could mix them up and just go around them, couldn't we? Like, go like, yeah, picking card, any disc. Sorry. Anyway, so I'm just digressing. And so yeah. So Dad's Dead. I don't know if people have not seen it. It might be a bit confusing, mightn't it?
Well, perhaps we should show.
Do you want to see Dad's Dead as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll play you a bit of Dad's Dead too, but not all of it, because I don't want to give away the ending.
You mean you've actually shot the ending already?
No, it's only a voiceover.
Okay.
So, what do you reckon? Do you fancy it?
Yeah.
It's grim, it's dark, it's horrible. Are you all right? Are you going to be saying you're going to be all right? Because health and safety rules permit.
I've got to sort of disclose. Dad's Dead is one of the grimmest films I've ever seen. I was itemising a couple of things.
Oh yeah.
There's the business with the £20 note, which is just so dark, and also the business with aerosols spraying the pigeons, which I found particularly disturbing. So,
all right. Well, let's.
those are etched on my memory. So,
should we go for it? Let's stick it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this one. In 10 years, I'll come back. I'll be like an old man coming down. Oh yeah, I did this film. It took me 25 years to make, and it was great. And it's got a happy ending. Because I'm going to put dance routes in at the end, you know, where they go like, it's all like, and he's learned how to body pop in prison, and he starts his own body popping troupe, and they take over the streets, and then he starts a national dance craze, and it's massive. What do you reckon? Do you like it?
I need a happy ending. Please give me a happy ending.
Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, so
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a massive round of applause.